All right, so chapter 6. Chapter 5, the repairman was over fixing the refrigerator to make it Captain Cook could live in it, drilling some holes for him to get an air vent and putting a handle inside so he can get in and out. And when Captain Cook showed up and the repairman saw him, he went running out the house. So chapter 6, more troubles. The children were the first to notice the policeman. "Look, Papa," said Bill, "there's a policeman at the back door. Is he going to arrest you?" "Look," said Captain Cook, walking with dignity to the door and trying to poke his beak through the screen. "Is this 432 Proudfoot Avenue?" "It is," answered Mr. Popper. "Well, I guess this is the right place," said the policeman and pointed to Captain Cook. "Is that thing yours?" "Yes, it is," said Mr. Popper proudly. "And what do you do for a living?" asked the policeman sternly. "Papa is an artist," said Janie. "He's always getting paint and calcimine all over his clothes," said Bill. "I'm a house painter, a decorator," said Mr. Popper. "Won't you come in?" "I won't," said the policeman, "unless I have to." "Ha ha," said Bill. "The policeman is afraid of Captain Cook." "Well," said the penguin, opening his red beak wide as if he wanted to laugh at the policeman. "Can it talk?" asked the policeman. "What is it, a giant parrot?" "It's a penguin," said Janie. "We keep it for a pet." "Well, if it's only a bird," said the policeman, lifting his cap to scratch his head in a puzzled sort of way. "From the way that fellow with the tool bag yelled at me outside, I thought there was a lion in here." "Mama says Papa's hair looks like a lion sometimes," said Bill. "Keep still, Bill," said Janie. "The policeman doesn't care how Papa's hair looks." The policeman now scratched his chin. "If it's only a bird, I suppose it'll be okay if you keep him in a cage." "We keep him in the icebox," said Bill. You can put it in the icebox for all I care," said the policeman. "What kind of bird did you say it was?" "A penguin," answered Mr. Popper. "And by the way, I might want to take him walking with me. Would that be all right if I kept him on a leash?" "I tell you," said the policeman, "honestly, I don't know what the municipal ordinance about penguins is. With or without a leash or on public streets, I'll have to ask my sergeant." "Maybe I ought to get a license for him," suggested Mr. Popper. "It's certainly big enough for a license," said the policeman. "I tell you what to do. You call up the city hall and ask them what the ruling is about penguins. And good luck to you, Popper. He's kind of a cute little fellow at that. Looks almost human. Good day to you, Poppers, and good day to Mr. Penguin." When Mr. Popper telephoned City Hall to see about a license for Captain Cook, the penguin did his best to disconnect the telephone by biting the green cord. Perhaps he thought it was some kind of eel. But just then, Mrs. Popper came back from the market and opened a can of shrimps, so Mr. Popper was soon left alone on the telephone. Even so, he found it was not so easy to learn whether or not he must get a license for this strange pet. Every time he would explain what he wanted, he would be told to wait a minute, and much later a new voice would ask him what he wanted. This went on for a considerable amount of time. At last, a new voice seemed to take a little interest in his case. Pleased with his friendly voice, Mr. Popper began again to tell about Captain Cook. "Is he an army captain, a police captain, or a navy captain?" "He is not," said Mr. Popper. "He's a penguin." "Will you repeat that, please?" said the voice. Mr. Popper repeated it. The voice suggested that perhaps he had better spell it. "Penguin," said Mr. Popper. "Penguin." "Oh," said the voice, "you mean that Captain Cook's first name is Benjamin?" "Not Benjamin. Penguin. It's a bird," said Mr. Popper. "Do you mean," said the telephone in his ear, "that Captain Cook wishes a license to shoot birds?" "I am sorry. The bird hunting season does not open until November. And please try to speak a little more distinctly. Mr. Topper said, did you say that was your name?" "My name is Popper, not Topper," shouted Mr. Popper. "Yes, Mr. Potter. Now I can hear you quite clearly." "Then listen," roared Mr. Popper, now completely outraged. "If you folks at City Hall don't even know what penguins are, I guess you haven't any rule saying that they have to be licensed. I will do without a license for Captain Cook." "Just a minute, Mr. Popwell. Our town, Mr. Treadbottom of the Bureau of Navigation of Lakes, Rivers, Ponds, and Streams has just come in. I'll let you speak to him personally. Perhaps he knows this Benjamin Cook of yours." In a moment, a new voice was speaking to Mr. Popper. "Good morning. This is the Automobile License Bureau. Did you have this same car last year? If so, what was the license number? Mr. Popper had been switched over to the county building. He decided to hang up. So that's the end of chapter 6, and he got nowhere on if he needs a license for Mr. Popper or not Mr. Popper, for Captain Cook, or if he needs, what he needs to do for this penguin, if he can take him out on the streets, take him for walks, what. And since it's not a normal pet, there's a lot of questions that no one's real sure about. So we'll have to see what happens in chapter 7. Bye, guys.